As we have successfully downloaded and installed Spark 3 on our single node cluster, let's go ahead and configure so that we can use it. We need to ensure that Spark can run using yarn mode. For that, we need to integrate Spark 3 with Hadoop. You can take care of integration of Spark 3 with Hadoop by setting these two environment variables as part of spark-env.sh. Then you have to set these properties as part of spark-defaults.conf. We have to set Spark master to yarn so that by default Spark uses yarn to run the Spark jobs. And also we have to specify event log directory as well as yarn jars directory. Once we set these properties, we have to create these folders in HDFS and also copy the jar files from Spark 3 into this location. Also, we need to add additional property to this hive.xml. We need to set this property. The property is nothing but Hive metastore schema verification. By default, whenever you use Spark 3 to interact with the Hive metastore, it will actually perform the schema verification. Due to the conflict with respect to Hive versions, it will fail. If we set it to false, it will not do the schema verification and it will go through, and we should be able to interact with the database and tables that are created as part of the Hive metastore. As I have highlighted earlier, after creating these two directories, we also need to copy the jar files from this location into this location so that yarn can interact with Spark when we submit jobs using yarn. By default, we will not be able to access Hive metastore tables and database using Spark. We need to perform these two steps also. We need to create soft link for hive.xml in Spark conf folder, and also we need to install Postgres JDBC jar in Spark jars so that Spark can interact with the Hive metastore which is set up using Postgres. Let's take care of these steps to complete the configuration of Spark 3 on our single node cluster. First, I have to just open this file. I'm going to terminal here and then saying vi and then the file name. Then I have to add these two entries. Let me copy and paste here. Let me come out of this. Now we have to update this file. The file doesn't exist, so we have to add this file and then add the contents into this file. We can just copy paste these properties. The most important ones are spark.master yarn, spark.event.log.dir as HDFS and whatever directory you want to specify as part of HDFS. If you want to use this, you also have to set this property to true, and then you have to set the yarn jars like this. You need to create these folders. We'll be taking care of that in a moment. Let me come out of this. Then the next task is to update hivesite.xml with this property. Make sure you are careful if you are using VI editors because you might not be very comfortable with it. Let me first copy the path of the file, then say VI, paste the file name, hit enter. Make sure to go to the end of the last property, then go to the next line and then copy paste this one. Now the property is added. Make sure it is a well-formed XML. If you mess up, you might run into some issues. Be very careful when you are adding these entries into these XML files if you are not comfortable with VI editor. You can also use Nano editor instead of VI editor. Nano is a bit more user-friendly than VI editor if you are new to VI. That being said, now we should be able to create these two folders in HDFS. For that, first let's validate that HDFS is up and running. We can say JPS. You can confirm that HDFS is up and running by looking at these process. Now we should be able to run these two commands to create the folders in HDFS. First one is spark3-jars, second one is spark3-logs. Logs will be populated whenever we start the Spark jobs. We need to copy the jar files from this location into the HDFS location which we have created earlier. All these jar files should go into that. You can run this command to copy the jar files. In this case, I want to use HDFS DFS command rather than Hadoop FS. Both are nothing but aliases to each other. You can either use HDFS DFS or Hadoop FS. I just want to be consistent and hence I am using HDFS DFS here. Let me paste it and hit enter. It will take care of copying all the jar files into this location. Now this command ran successfully. You can validate by saying HDFS DFS -ls spark3-jars. You can see all the jar files here. Now it is time for us to integrate Spark with Hive. For that, we have to create soft link of hivesite.xml under this location. You can also copy the hivesite.xml to that location. However, if you make any changes to hivesite.xml later, those will not be reflected if we copy. Better is to create a soft link so that all the changes that are going to happen as part of hivesite.xml in future will reflect within Spark also. So this will take care of integrating Hive with Spark. If you do not run this command or if you don't copy the hivesite.xml to opt spark3 conf, then using Spark will not be able to access Hive metastore databases or tables. Now let me actually download the latest version of Postgres JDBC driver so that Spark can talk to the Hive metastore. Without that, it might run into few issues. The way you can download is you can actually search for Postgres JDBC driver. You can hit enter. You can go to this download and then you can right click on this, say copy link. Then you can say wget, paste it, then hyphen capital O, then opt spark 3 jars. Then we have to specify the jar file name, which is nothing but this one. Now you can hit enter. The file will be downloaded with this name under that location. If you look at opt hive lib and then grep for Postgres, already there is a JDBC driver in it, but it is a bit older version. Spark have compatibility issues with this. That's why we are downloading JDBC jar file with respect to Postgres afresh. And we are downloading the latest one. If you look at this jar file name, it is saying JARE7, which means it is primarily meant for JDK 1.7. In our case, Spark works with JDK 1.8, and hence it might run into some compatibility issues. To overcome that, we are actually downloading this jar file. As there is no version specified, it is related to JDK 1.8 or later. If you look at the other jar file names, you can see that they are saying JARE7, JARE6, etc. So these are related to JDK 1.7 or JDK 1.6. So make sure you download the latest version of Postgres JDBC driver under opt spark 3 jars so that Spark can talk to Hive metastore that is running as part of the Postgres database. Now we are done with downloading and installing Spark related binaries and also configuring it. It is time for us to validate by launching CLIs. Let's get into those details as part of the next topic.